I'll be working with Castor again on some riding from the ground and hand work with him. I put this halter on, and I just have clip-on reins clipped into a leather halter, so there's not a lot of like pulling or anything going on. It's leather, so it could pop off if it need to. And I just like these reins work really well for how short he is because he's not super big. You might need longer ones if you have a bigger horse though. And I'm just going to work by just standing next to him and just rewarding him for staying still. He did excellent there, so I'm just going to ask him to back up. So I just pick up on the reins, and then I immediately go in with my target. He backs up a step, I click and let go of my reins, and then I will beat him a treat. And then I go back to standing still. So again, you should be able to see the progression from my other videos. This slowly keeps getting better. I don't love how he stepped out of his backup, like he kind of took a step to the right there. That's okay. I'm gonna take a note of it, but I'm not gonna correct it right now because I just want to work on getting him to go back in general. But I do want to pay attention to that. So I'll do a couple more backup steps, and then I can go ahead and reward for just standing next to him there. So I clicked while my hand was up on the reins and on his neck because I don't want that to be an inadvertent cue for him to go forward if my hand up on the reins. So that time I went ahead and asked him to go forward. So he has a voice cue, and then he goes forward on that voice cue, and he's getting much better with that. He's getting very consistent. And the way I trained that was standing next to him. I said walk on, and I brought up the target. He walked on, and as soon as he goes forward, I click and feed. So very similar to the backup and everything else that I have been teaching. So I just have him change directions, and we'll do the same thing over here. So I'm going to work on standing next to his shoulder, and we had to work through that just standing next to his shoulder for quite a bit because he wasn't used to me being right there and leading from there and steering and everything. So got to remind him about just standing right there, and I probably will start off every session like that. So again, I'll ask him to walk on, and I'm just applying a little bit of right rein pressure. So again, like my last video, probably should have stuck to just working on the back up. We'll go forward, we'll stop, we'll back up, and we'll just kind of work on that before I threw in a whole lot of steering because I don't want him to get too confused, but he did get it. He did do some decent steering, but it could have been better if I stuck with a few exercises, I think, in the beginning. I went to get more treats, so now I'm back. Um, and again, I'm rewarding him for letting me stand at his shoulder and for him standing still and just kind of hanging out here, which he needs a lot of balancing, a lot of balancing. So I asked him to go forward. I'm going to ask here with my rein, and he takes a little step over, and I should have brought my target up and had him come over with my target. That was my fault. I need to be faster with my target so he's very clear and he understands what I want. So there I asked him to stop. I think I asked him to stop. Yeah, I asked him to stop, and he's still kind of cruising around. He wanted to kind of kick his hind end out. I'm just going to kind of stay with him, and we're just going to wait until he stands and he's facing forward. There, I clicked there, and I'll reward him. So I'm just going to kind of wait through those moments. I should have given him. I should be using the target more so that I'm showing him exactly what I want and giving him more clarity here. So I think a lot of that is not rewarding as often, which I had a big problem with, and not being very clear with my target and my tools to really help him and show him what it is that I want. So it is getting better. As if you watch the first few videos, it was rough, but hopefully it showed you some mistakes that you don't want to make or don't have to make. So this looks better. Oh, that he kind of decided he wanted to turn into me and just kind of picked my hands up, and he was like he just jumped a bit. So again, I need to be working on there. I'm just like, I don't know what I'm asking for with my rein there. So him just kind of throwing things at me is him being confused. And I can look at this and be like, I'm not even sure what I'm asking. So of course he's going to be confused. But um, I think he was just kind of walking around. He's going back into that, oh, I think I'm supposed to be lunging mode, and I need to be more clear. Show him the target, show him stand here, go forward, and then I can fade that out as I go. But I was too stuck on like, oh, I don't want him to follow it all the time, but I got to use it in the beginning so that I can create those behaviors, and then I can fade it out later on. So we'll just go back to default here, just standing still, working on that, and then I'll ask him to do something else. But if he's having trouble, I need to go back to just standing there and having him wait. Because I was like holding up on the rein, but then I wasn't giving him any direction whatsoever. So I was just kind of holding onto the rein. He doesn't know what that means. I didn't have my target up, so he was just like went into lunging because that's what he thought he was supposed to do, and that was the most similar thing that that cue was to him at that time. So mm, I'm kind of in a bad position right here. I can't really see. I asked him to back up a step. He is getting really good at that. Like he's pretty solid at the backup, and he's pretty solid about going forward. Like I like that he's pausing in there and he's kind of waiting. He's not rushing off, so I like that. He's trying to turn and like kind of come toward the food a little bit. So I should have. That was my problem because I should have been feeding him further away. And again, there I should have been more clear. He's kind of curling toward me. He's not really sure what he's supposed to do. I should be using my target. Again, I'm just kind of using the rein. I should be using the target here to show him because he doesn't understand. You can tell that he doesn't understand. I'm not super sure why I didn't want to use the target for steering because I use it for everything else. And you can see with that backup, the backup looks really good because I've been using that target and he understands it. And when you see the forward too, I'm quick to bring out the target when we're going forward. For some reason, I'm not quick to bring out the target when we steer. So that's just something I need to work on. So that's really showing the importance of videoing yourself and then watching it back. Because at the moment, I was like confused and like, ugh, he's not getting the steering. It's because I need to use the target more. So that makes more sense. But now I'm going to add in another lesson that we did, also with some riding from the ground. I have a little bit longer target, which is going to help with that steering. Kind of play with your horse and see which works best, but he's pretty good at walking off here, and he's really good at stopping. Like there, I didn't use the target at all, so that looks pretty good. I do have a lot more riding from the ground clips, but it's just like very repetitive, and I feel like it's almost getting that way with the amount of clips and footage that I have right now. But I'm trying to pick out the ones that have the most like change to them, like you can see a difference in. So I do like this. He's just kind of waiting and just hanging out. I think he thought I was supposed to have him back up. I'm just gonna balance it out by having him go forward. Um, that looks pretty good. And I also did teach him to put his head down like when I kind of pat on him, so that is helpful. Um, and I did that because I was like, oh, he's getting worried about the riding from the ground, which he was, and that is nice to have that like addition. But what my real problem was not that he was just worried, it was I wasn't being super clear, so that's where it was coming out. So I was trying to fix it with a different behavior, with oh hey, let's just make him relaxed when really like I needed to be more clear in what I was asking. So here I'm just kind of doing a little bit of desensitizing. I was putting my hand on the reins and then just clicking and feeding so I don't that doesn't become a cue to go forward. Then I did ask him to go forward. So I'm gonna have to balance that. Like most of the time I'm just standing, petting him, touch the reins, and he stands still, but then sometimes I will ask with my voice cue and I want him to go forward. So I want him to wait for that voice cue and not just leave. So there he's confused. Put him back on the other side and just go back. It's not a big deal. He just is confused. I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to chase him anywhere. I just need to go back to standing next to him, clicking and feeding. So just go back to that default position where I stand at his shoulder, and then we can start again from there. So I went to go get some more food, come back, ask him to walk on. This looks really good. That looks really nice. So yeah, when I use the target and he is very clear on what I want, like his going and stopping and backing, he looks really good. When I just kind of confuse him and pull on the reins, he doesn't look as good because then he just kind of wanders around and isn't sure what I want. That looks really nice. I think he kind of stopped on his own there, which I'm fine with, because he wants to go forward so much. I want him to pause and be like, "Ah, is this what you want? Is that what you want?" There he left on his own. So I'm not gonna reward, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm just gonna kind of give him a pause here, be like, that's not what I wanted. And then I should either like here walk away and put him back in position, or I could go and walk around to the other side and just stand for a second, and then there I'm rewarding for being at the shoulder again. So just kind of give him a little pause and like, that's not what I wanted, and then go back to stopping and standing. There, this is much better because I'm clicking and rewarding. and getting him like really stuck on really rewarding standing here. So he should be doing a lot more standing. So like 3 standings to every 1 walk forward because he's really wanting to anticipate going forward. Because going forward itself is reinforcing, just going forward for a lot of horses. So you gotta be careful of that. There he had a nice halt. And then I should be reinforcing that stand again because if I go ahead and go more forward, like I shouldn't have gone more forward here, he's just going to get stuck going more forward. So that was another one of my issues here is definitely need to be balancing more towards standing still because now I'm not helping his going forward problem. But we're making steps, we're getting better.